On the worst day of my life, I hoped more than ever that someone would help me. I just didn't know the man who offered his hand would be the one to shove the knife in my back. It's wild how fast everything can fall apart. 1 month I had a boyfriend, an apartment, and a job I hated but at least paid the rent. Then suddenly it was all gone. Like someone flipped a table and left me standing in the mess. The breakup was slow motion, dragged out over weeks of silence, weird tension, and the kind of one-word texts that say more than paragraphs. He dumped me over takeout, didn't even look up from his phone. 2 weeks later, I got let go from my job. Budget cuts, they said. But they kept the girl who showed up hungover twice a week. Then the lease ended, and my roommate decided she was moving in with her boyfriend. No warning, just a text. Hey, I'm out by the 30th, hope that's cool. So there I was, 27, 2 suitcases, no savings, a dead-end resume, and the kind of tired that sits behind your eyes even when you sleep. I couch surfed for a while. A friend let me crash on their floor. Then another offered their couch, but you can only be a burden for so long before people start looking at you different. That's when Jake messaged me. He wasn't a close friend. More like that guy at your old job who always remembered birthdays and brought cake for people he barely knew. We'd had coffee once. He was funny in a nerdy way, older, always seemed calm and put together. When I posted on my Instagram story something vague like, trying not to drown today, he replied, if you need a place to reset, I've got a spare room, no strings, just a roof. I stared at that message for hours. I didn't want to say yes. I didn't want to owe anyone. But I also didn't want to sleep in my car, so I said, are you sure? And he said, absolutely. He picked me up that evening, helped with my bags, showed me a clean, quiet room in his apartment like it was a little sanctuary. Stay as long as you need, he said. I've been where you are. I remember crying in the shower that night, just from the relief of having a door to close. The next few days were weirdly peaceful. He made tea, I cleaned up, he gave me a few job listings, told me about openings at his firm, a mid-sized marketing company that actually sounded legit, said they were hiring for a project coordinator. I laughed. I've never done anything like that. He shrugged. You're smart, you learn fast, I can put in a word. I told him I didn't want a handout. He smiled and said, then don't take it, take the chance. And for the first time in months, I believed I might still have a shot. I went into that interview shaking, my voice cracked twice. But I'd stayed up all night rewriting my resume, watching YouTube videos about how to sound confident even when you're dying inside. And somehow I pulled it off. The team was younger than I expected, casual, sharp, full of energy that made me feel like I didn't belong but also like I wanted to. The hiring manager smiled at the end of the interview and said, honestly, you're more organized than half the people already here. I got the offer 2 days later. Jake was the first person I told. He grinned, gave me a weird little fist bump and said, told you. He didn't push after that, didn't hover. I started the job and tried to keep everything clean. I didn't tell anyone we knew each other, not because it was a secret, but because I didn't want people to think I got the job through him. Technically he was in a different department, client strategy or senior something, and 2 levels above me. We barely crossed paths. He didn't even act like he knew me in the office. I appreciated that. It gave me room. The first weeks were overwhelming but exciting. I went from sorting invoices to sitting in brainstorms, mapping timelines, and coordinating real projects. I was terrified I'd mess something up, but I didn't. I actually did well. My team liked me. I made friends, especially with Marcus in IT and Jenna from HR. I brought donuts one morning and they started calling me Office MVP. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was waking up with purpose. Jake and I still hung out. We weren't officially dating, not really. But we'd cook together sometimes, talk late, drink wine and argue about movies. It felt easy, like I could breathe. One night I asked him, why did you help me? And he said, because I've been that person, and no one helped me. He looked so honest when he said it. I remember thinking I was lucky. I thought maybe the universe finally threw me a rope instead of a rock. That week my manager told me I was being considered for a bigger project. You've got natural leadership instincts, she said. I walked home glowing. I wanted to tell Jake, to thank him again, and I did, and that's when I saw the first crack. He barely reacted, just said, already? That's fast. I laughed. You think I'm not ready? He said, no, just don't forget who helped you get here. I didn't think much of it then. Maybe he was just tired, maybe he didn't like surprises. It was nothing, at least, that's what I told myself. The shift was subtle at first. Jake didn't get mean or aggressive. He just got quiet. shorter texts, less eye contact, more sighs that weren't really about anything. I chalked it up to stress. Work was intense on his side too, and I didn't want to make it about me. But then the small things started stacking, like the time I mentioned an idea I'd pitched that went over well, and he said, "Careful, don't let that ego start bloating." Or when I came home after a long day and he said, "Wow, someone's feeling themselves," because I wore lipstick for the first time in weeks. I laughed it off every time. Tried to tell myself I was imagining things, that maybe I was being sensitive, but something was off. One night we were out for drinks with some coworkers. Everyone was buzzed, relaxed, laughing. My team lead was bragging about how I'd saved a deadline and someone joked, "She's gonna replace me in 6 months." Everyone laughed. Except Jake. He just looked at me, then down at his drink. On the ride home, I asked, "You okay?" And he said, "You're getting a lot of attention lately. Is that bad?" I joked, "Depends," he said, and that was it. I started feeling self-conscious, like if I talked too much about work wins, he'd see it as showing off. So I stopped. I toned it down, didn't mention when I got good feedback, played small. I thought it would pass. It didn't. 2 weeks later I got pulled into a high-level meeting. My manager told me I was going to lead a client rollout. Huge deal, tight timeline, lots of visibility. I was thrilled. I told Jake that night and he didn't even flinch. "Already?" he said. "That's fast." "That's what my manager said too," I replied. He didn't smile. "Just don't forget who got you through the door." That sat wrong. "I didn't forget," I said. "I'm just proud of myself, okay?" He shrugged, "Sure," and that's when it started to click. The compliments were gone, the support was gone. He didn't like me growing. He liked me meeting him. I kept hoping I was wrong, that I was just overanalyzing, that maybe I was too tired to see clearly, but I wasn't wrong. Because a few nights later, we fought, really fought, and he finally said the thing he'd been holding back. "If it weren't for me, you'd still be stuffing envelopes and answering phones. I gave you everything, don't get it twisted." I stared at him. "You think you made me? I picked you up off the floor," he snapped. "You owe me." "I don't owe you *T. That broke something," he yelled. I packed. He followed me down the hallway yelling, "You walk out now. I swear to God I will burn everything I gave you to the ground." I left. Stayed with Tasha that night. I didn't even cry, not yet. I just felt empty, like someone finally said out loud what I'd been afraid to think. That all of it, every bit of support and kindness, came with a bill I never agreed to pay. I didn't hear from Jake after that night, not for 2 days. And then I got the HR email. It was titled, "Quick Check-in," but the minute I walked into the office and saw Karen's face, I knew something was wrong. We sat down. She had a printout in front of her and said, "There's been a serious issue with the client rollout. We need to walk through what happened." I blinked. "What issue?" She slid the printout over. It was the final report I'd sent to the client, only the numbers were wrong, wildly wrong. "This isn't the version I submitted," I said instantly, but she shook her head. "This is what the client received, from your email, your login." I felt my mouth go dry. I checked that report. I checked it 3 times. "I believe you," she said, softly, "but this is the reality we're dealing with. Leadership is asking for accountability. You've been doing great work, but this is a major red flag, and honestly the timing is unfortunate." I sat there frozen. I couldn't even process it. "Are you firing me?" "Not yet, but you should strongly consider resigning voluntarily. It'll look better for everyone." I nodded, numb, took the stupid form, packed my desk in silence. Marcus from IT looked confused when he saw me with a box. "What the hell?" he mouthed. I just shook my head. I couldn't speak. That night I told Tasha everything. She was furious. "You think Jake did it?" she asked. "He said he'd burn everything down." I replied, "You think that was just a metaphor?" I didn't know. I didn't want to believe he'd actually sabotage my job. But something didn't add up. I sent out 20 resumes that week, got a few nibbles, had one great phone interview that ended with, "We'll circle back this week." But nothing happened. 2 days later, silence. Another recruiter said something about unverified concerns, and couldn't move forward. I felt like I was losing my mind. That's when I got the email. It was from a woman named Laura, HR at one of the places I'd applied. The subject line said, "Just a heads up." I opened it. "Hi. I thought you should know that someone has been emailing hiring managers here under your name. They're attaching a document claiming to explain why you left your last job. It doesn't look official. I'd suggest checking your online presence and maybe changing passwords." I sat frozen, hands shaking. She attached the PDF. It was nearly identical to the termination summary I'd gotten. except this one had extra comments: failed to take ownership, uncooperative, high risk for future teams. That was not in the original, and it wasn't just a copy, it had been edited to look real. I felt like I couldn't breathe, my head spun. Jake, it had to be Jake. He had access to my laptop. I'd left it at his place. He knew where my files were, who I was applying to, who to send it to. I didn't want it to be true, but it all lined up. He wasn't just done with me, he was trying to end me. I didn't cry, not right away. I just sat there staring at the fake document, blinking like maybe if I looked at it long enough it would undo itself. Then I started shaking, and then I got angry, not sad, not scared, just white-hot fury. I screenshotted everything, forwarded the email to myself, backed it up in 5 places, printed it out. Then I texted Marcus from IT. I need a favor, a big one. He replied in 2 minutes. What's going on? I told him everything, the sabotage, the fake document, the timing. I said, I think Jake's behind it, but I need proof. He didn't hesitate. I'll check server logs. Might take a day. I told him thank you and then messaged Karen from HR. I didn't give details yet, just asked if I could talk to her off the record. She agreed to meet me that afternoon. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about every time I'd let my guard down, every time I thought he was safe, that he was helping me out. Of kindness. The next day, Marcus texted, call me when you're alone. I stepped out to the alley behind Tasha's building and dialed. He picked up immediately. It's him, he said. I'm 99% sure. Your account was logged into 4 days after you left. IP matches a device we know is Jake's. He accessed your project folder, downloaded 3 docs. Can you prove it? I asked, already saving everything. There's more. I braced myself. The client report that got you in trouble? We checked the version history. The archived version has no errors, but the file that was emailed to the client, it was modified 3 hours before submission. The wrong numbers were manually entered from your login. But what? That version was edited from Jake's IP, on his laptop, while logged in as you. We have MAC address matches. I nearly dropped the phone. You're serious? I wouldn't be calling if I wasn't. This is fireable, actually. This might be criminal. Can you send me everything? Already exported. Also Karen's involved now. She's pissed. Did you tell her? She saw the access logs. I didn't need to say much. That afternoon, I met Karen in a coffee shop near the office. She looked like she hadn't slept either. You have no idea how dangerous this is for us as a company, she said. If this had gone public before we caught it. Jesus. I handed her the email I got from Laura. She scanned it and nodded. We're escalating. You'll need to come in, officially, and bring everything you have. Will I be in trouble? I asked. You? She raised her eyebrows. You're the one who got played. Let's go get the bastard. I left the coffee shop with my head spinning. I wasn't safe yet, but for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. Walking back into that building felt like walking into a courtroom. Every step toward the elevator made my pulse louder. I kept thinking someone would stop me, that security would block the door, but no one did. Karen met me in the lobby with a folder in one hand and her phone in the other. You good? She asked. I nodded, lying through my teeth. Marcus was already in the conference room, a neutral one, not HR or legal. He had his laptop open, a flash drive on the table, and a look on his face that said let's go. Daniel's coming, Karen said. Daniel, the co-founder, one of the big names. I barely knew him, had maybe spoken to him twice during my whole time at the company. When he walked in, he didn't shake hands or make small talk, just sat down and said, I've been briefed, walk me through it. Karen started. She laid out the timeline, the fake email, the sabotage report, the IP logs, the login trail, the document comparison. Marcus backed her up with screen recordings and printouts. I sat silent until the very end. Then I said, he told me he'd destroy me if I walked away. He said he'd burn down everything he gave me. Daniel looked at me, then at Karen. Where is he right now? Downstairs. Just finished a client call, she said. Bring him in. The room got cold. 5 minutes later, Jake walked in like he owned the place. He saw me, blinked once, and smirked. Oh, this is awkward. Karen stood. Sit. He hesitated. What is this? Daniel didn't even raise his voice. You know why you're here. I'm guessing someone's been crying to HR, Jake said, still smiling. No, Daniel said calmly. You're here because we have evidence you logged into another employee's account, tampered with client documents, and sent defamatory messages to outside companies using internal information. Jake laughed. Actually laughed. Are you serious right now? Very, Daniel said. We have IP logs. version history, device IDs. It's not up for debate. Jake's face shifted. Smug to scared to pissed in 2 seconds. This is bullsh asterisk T. He snapped. You're just taking her side because she cried louder. Marcus spoke up. You used your personal laptop on our VPN. Rookie move. You think I'm going down over some sad ex-girlfriend sob story? Jake yelled. I made this team what it is. He stood up fast. Too fast. The chair clattered to the floor. Karen pressed a button under the table. Security was already waiting outside the room. 2 guys stepped in. Calm but ready. Sir, we're going to need you to leave the building. Don't touch me, Jake barked. You're all going to regret this. You think she's innocent? She played every one of you. One of the guards moved in. Jake shoved him. Bad call. They pinned him in about 3 seconds and walked him out while he screamed. I didn't move, didn't speak, just sat still, heart pounding. When the door shut, Daniel looked at me and said, we're reversing your exit. We'll call it a leave of absence. If you want your job back, it's yours. I nodded. Karen touched my arm gently. You did good. I didn't feel like I won. I felt like I barely crawled out alive. But something in me shifted. The weight started to lift. The next 48 hours were quiet, too quiet. I expected some explosion, some meltdown online, a barrage of texts, something. But Jake disappeared, or at least it looked that way. I started the paperwork to get reinstated. Karen told me to take time, rest, breathe. We've got your back now. I didn't rest, couldn't. Every time my phone buzzed, I flinched. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It did. 2 nights later. 2:17 a.m. Private number. I didn't answer. Then again at 2:20, then a text. You think this is over? You ruined me. I will ruin you back. I stared at it for a long time. Screenshot. Block. But then a new number. Another text. No one believes you're clean. You're just better at hiding your mess. It wasn't rage texting. It was calculated. Creepy. I felt the old fear crawling back. The kind that makes you double-check locks and sleep with your phone under your pillow. I didn't want to be scared. I didn't want to flinch every time I heard a notification. So I waited until the 4th number messaged me, and then I picked up. Didn't say hello, just let the line sit open. Jake's voice came through low, tight, like he was trying to stay calm. You should have kept your mouth shut. I hit record on my second phone. Set it on the table. Let him keep going. I was good to you. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me? You humiliated me. You cost me my job. You think they're gonna keep you around now? You think they respect you? I stayed silent, let him spiral. Then, when he finally paused, I spoke. Calm, quiet. Jake, there's a signed character statement from your former employer. There's a digital forensics report with your name all over it. You keep calling me. I go to court. You keep texting me. I file for a restraining order. You breathe in my direction again. I press charges. Silence. Long, cold. Then he hung up. I blocked the number. Reported everything. Sent the recording to Karen and Marcus and BCC'd myself. Covered every base. And then nothing. No more texts. No more calls. No weird emails. Just silence. He vanished. Not online. Not through friends. Not even mutual connections. It was like someone pulled him off the board. I didn't ask how. I didn't want to know. I just exhaled for the first time in weeks. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was rebuilding. Quietly. Carefully. But on my own terms. Some people think closure is about confrontation. Big scenes. Dramatic goodbyes. Final words that tie everything up like a movie. But real closure is quieter. It's logging out. Blocking the last number. Waking up and realizing you didn't think about him for the first time in days. It's folding laundry while music plays and noticing you're not holding your breath anymore. That's what it was for me. Silence. Peace. Not a parade. Just the absence of chaos. I didn't go back to work right away. Karen told me to take my time, and for once, I listened. I spent a week doing absolutely nothing. Sat in cafes. Cleaned Tasha's kitchen just to feel useful. Rewrote my resume. Again. But this time without shame. I wrote a new bio for my portfolio that didn't mention anyone else. No, helped by, no, referred through, just me, what I did, what I built. I started seeing a therapist, too. She asked me what I wanted out of our sessions. I said, I want to stop mistaking control for care. She nodded like that made perfect sense. One night, I opened the Notes app and wrote out every red flag I'd ignored, every moment I'd gaslit myself into silence, every time I laughed off something that wasn't funny. I didn't post it, didn't send it, just kept it. A reminder, a boundary. 1 week after the last call, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten. no return address. I knew it was from him. I didn't open it. Burned it in a ceramic bowl on Tasha's balcony and watched the edges curl like dead leaves. I thought maybe I'd feel powerful, vindicated. I didn't. I just felt done. Tasha came out while I was still standing there and asked, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, actually, yeah." A few days later, I got an offer from one of the companies that had ghosted me earlier. The HR woman apologized for the delay, said there'd been confusion around references, but it was resolved. I didn't ask what changed. I already knew. I started the new job 2 weeks later, different role, different city, clean start, and no, I didn't tell anyone about Jake. I didn't need to, because I wasn't carrying that story like a wound anymore. It was a scar now, flat, faint, proof that I got cut and healed anyway. Sometimes people ask how I got into my field. I smile and say, long story, hard road, worth it. And when I see women like me, women who walk like they're bracing for the next blow, I don't offer advice. I just stand still and let them know they're not alone. That's enough. It has to be. Because I'll never again let someone make me their project. I'm not a cause. I'm not a comeback. I'm mine. Subscribe, hit the like button, and explore more fascinating stories.